Hello, friends. Robert Bevan here, author of the Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels and short stories. With me is Sam West, and today we're going to be talking about the spell Windwalk. All right, what does the spell do, Sam?
Basically, you pick 10 people within 30 feet of you, and they all, as an action, you can turn into a big gaseous cloud. And they can go back and forth over the course of a minute to go between being a giant gust of wind ball and being a regular thing. And while you're a big gust of wind ball, you have a 300-foot fly speed.
Yeah, that's pretty fast.
Yeah, and another neat thing about the spell is despite it being like a big, long duration spell, there's no concentration on it. So you can just kind of like cast this, go adventuring out for your day, go around at Mach 12 as clouds up in the sky if you want. It's super cool. I don't know exactly what games want this, but there will be some, and that's pretty neat.
And this feels like almost like mass teleport.
Kind of, yeah. You get going real fast. This is an easy way to go long distances, especially because like if you just go 8 hours straight, 300 feet over, because you can dash, which gives you 600.
No, so 600 feet, right?
Yeah. If you're a rogue, you can bonus action dash even while wind walking, which is silly.
This is easily the fastest spell in the game, correct?
Yeah. I mean, short of like actual teleportation. Yeah. I can't think of other effects that make you just go Mach 12 for 8 hours. Now, granted, while you are a cloud, so you can't really do anything else. You do resistance to all damage, which is neat. I don't think there's really any applications for using this combatively for the most part because it takes a full minute to go between modes, and turns out getting hit for a minute while you switch in between modes is not super useful. And this isn't something you can be like, oh crap, we're all dying, Windwalk, run. Although you can Windwalk one if you cast this at the combat because it's instantaneous, you transform, and then you can switch back and forth for a minute.
Well, no, it's got a casting time of 1 minute.
I'm wrong. This isn't an action cast time. It takes a minute to cast. So yes, you can't use this to combat. Thank you for catching that. I literally was like, oh, it's an action to cast. It's easy peasy. No, absolutely not.
Look who knows what they're talking about for once.
Yeah, look who read the whole spell description. Yeah. Proud of you.
Thank you.
Yeah. This is so while this is not a combat spell, full stop. This is not something you're doing combatively or ever. We then have to talk about like, well, what do you do with this? What do you do with this, Bob? What would you do with this, right?
Fly really fast.
Yeah, but as a spell that is like when you get this at 6th level, we're talking like mid-tier play, 13th level-ish, 15th level-ish. This is kind of just everyone is mass fly, but it's also a cloud. Because it's just a gaseous form, you still look like you, to my understanding, right? Never mind. You appear as wisps of a cloud. So you don't look like you just look like wisps of a cloud. So this kind of is an infiltration tool. This is a way that you can like hypothetically fly to the top of a tower and infiltrate it that way. And we're at the tier play. That's not necessarily an issue. You go so fast that like, it's going to be hard to catch up to you. This is a tool that like, if you have time to like bar the door, cast Windwalk, and then go out the windows, you're just gone and seemingly disappeared. That's not that much better than teleport, I don't think. I don't think that's that much better than a lot of other spells that are like the get out of jail free stuff. There are other ways to kind of do this, but this is also attached to an absurd move speed. This is also attached to being able to go in and out of it over and over again for a huge duration. I want to compare this to things, but there just aren't a lot of things like this. And I think that's super nifty. I'm glad the game has this for that reason.
Yeah, well, going back to the player though, what do you do with it?
I don't know. You explore weird environments. I think this to me like imposes the question to the DM. Your players want to use Windwalk. How do you use Windwalk? Because some of the answers can be, this could just in a lot of tables function as a mass etherealness in a lot of ways, right? Where like if you can just go underneath doors that aren't perfectly sealed because you're gas and you look like wisps of cloud, can you just like cast fog cloud menacingly and then Windwalk your way through a dungeon and just skip everything? Does that work? Are you allowed to do that? And then the DM has to ask, well, do I need countermeasures for this? What kind of dungeons become viable and unviable? I like to think of it more as an exploration tool. I like to think of this more as something you do to like explore the plane of air or go through Mount Celestia or go through like if we're doing plane travel stuff with Sigil and the City of Doors. That seems like where this spell could fit really nicely. But on the material, whenever you're like running around, this explores mountains pretty well. This covers a huge amount of space. Which definitely can get you some interesting ideas. I don't know. This is the kind of thing where if left unchecked, can absolutely just be we go where we want when we want, and then we all take our minute in the middle, in the hidey corners of this room, and then jump out and jump scare and kill a boss, right? At the same time, one good dispel magic and this goes down, and then you might be stuck somewhere. That's pretty nifty. But at the same time,
it has to have weaknesses, sure, but it also has to have strengths. I mean, it's sixth level, right?
For sure. Yeah. It lasting 8 hours is such a huge deal too, right? This is something that you even killing the druid doesn't end the spell, right? Like this just lasts 8 hours.
Yeah.
That's absurd. So even if the druid goes down, everyone else is still getting out, conceivably, right? As long as you have the minute, this spell, I guess if you just can, I think you can dispel magic just the druid and it drops all of this, maybe. I'm honestly not sure of how that ruling would work, because there aren't a lot of spells that aren't like attached to the caster like this is.
Right.
This is attached from it in such a way that there aren't a lot of ways really to counteract with it. It also helps that, like, if you do want to counteract this as a DM, if you are a player trying to use this as an infiltration tool all the time, they can just use airtight doors. That's a technology that dwarves can have that exists, right? That's a technology that you can stick on whoever needs it. Magically barred doors and entrances can absolutely be airtight for what you need them to be. This also can be the kind of tool where it's like, yeah, we're using the vents and the grates to get in, and that can be a neat thing to happen every once in a while. I just have a hard time thinking, like, if you were using this for that kind of exploration, it does just kind of take over the game, right? Like, you do just go wherever you please for the most part, because everything can't possibly be barred indefinitely against Windwalk, which makes it hard and very powerful.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, 6th level spell is supposed to be powerful. It's
sure,
you've earned it.
Yeah, I mean, again, if we compare it to something like etherealness is almost the same but affects less creatures. For how we talk about it, right? That is definitely a spell that, like, you just go through dungeons and clear them out easy peasy. I actually think there's possibly more ways to really interact with that than there is to necessarily interact with Windwalk. So at least you can, like, you conceivably create magic that sticks stuff onto the ethereal. With the Windwalk, you just have to dispel it, because if you don't, they're an intangible, absurdly fast cloud. How do you deal with that, right? Like, gaseous forms can't be grappled. You can't really, like, I guess you find giant vacuums and stick people in giant glass containers.
I mean, they can still be attacked.
Sure, you've resistance to all damage though. So, like, it just passes.
You have resistance to damage from non-magical weapons.
Non-magical, sure. Still, you're a gaseous form moving so fast. Like, how much damage are you going to let yourself take? If you're in the gaseous form, you have to take all of your hit points at once, right?
Undeniably cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe you don't take any damage.
Sure.
I don't know. It's yeah, I can see it being used a lot for infiltration. Also, like, I don't know, when we're discussing in the beginning, it's not usable really in combat because it costs a minute to cast. But I mean, if you see the army on the horizon coming, maybe you cast this on the 10 fastest members of the Rogues Guild and say, all right, go to the 10 cities and warn them.
They'll definitely get there in time. But, like, even beyond that practical use, I think this is something that if you're playing the druid, at the end of every long rest, to spend a minute and cast this, I think you're gonna get a lot of use out of that there. And I really think that could be a problem for some DMs to manage. I think I would honestly struggle to manage what I can and can't deal with Windwalk, just because the circumstances that, like, the fun little, go alert people because you're super fast is nifty. The fact that you're gaseous and the fact that you move so fast while gaseous, I think, is a lot harder to manage and gives you a lot more tools where, like, even if an admission wasn't an infiltration, now it can be, because you can get around so many hurdles and barriers by just not being a tangible thing. Being intangible is really good, and being gaseous is functionally intangible. So you can just move through stuff and around stuff and under grates and past arrow traps and have no real issues here. I think that there's going to be a lot of countermeasures that are going to be, like, dispel magics in specific areas set up. I think that's a way you would probably want to handle it. But at the same time, it is really cool. And if used to do, like, the exploration thing, it's pretty powerful. I don't know. I might be overrating this. I might be overhyping this, but I think this is absurd.
Yeah, I think you might be as well. I'm not sure. This is the sort of thing you need to play test it a bunch.
And Wizards definitely didn't do that. I promise you.
Well,
But
I'm thinking more like individual DMs.
yeah,
Like
agreed.
see how see how each one handles it. Then yeah, have a conversation among DMs or something. But I don't know. To me, it just feels cool and yeah, maybe a little overpowerful depending on how it's used. But I'd have to wait for the jury to come back on that one.
Well, like, so Bob, I'm thinking about this. What, like, if you're the exploration pillar of play, right? Sort of the dungeon delving, the exploring the world, the looking through stuff. What traps do you put up against this, right? When you're trying to make a dungeon that can't be infiltrated by Windwalk, what do you like? What are your barriers that you have to do to stop this from circumnavigating things?
I don't know. They're gas traps or
Do, traps that trigger specifically on gaseous, like seeing gaseous
no,
forms?
I'm saying like, if there's like a room of a toxic gas, then if you enter that, I don't know, it feels like it would be more harmful than if you were corporeal.
Yeah, it doesn't say that though. It just
No,
seems like normal.
I don't know.
And you also go through it at 300 feet, right?
Yeah.
Like you zip through that. You're never starting your turn in it. So you're only going to take an enter first time you enter it effect for the most part. Unless again, the other side of the door is sealed, and then you just have to seal every single entrance, huh? It seems like a nuisance, but a cool nuisance.
Yeah.
This is a spell that I would love to play with as a player and really push the boundaries of it. And I think that could get on some DM's nerves.
Sure.
It would get on my nerves as a DM, to be perfectly honest. I'd be like, oh, we're doing this again. Okay. Yes, every area is not every area, because I still want you to be able to use the thing, but a lot of the areas are sealed, so you can't have this get through every problem, because it's just a 6th level spell that removes dungeons for a lot of it. And you still have to stop and you take the minute before the fight and then you go in, guns blazing, but it seems hard and complicated. I don't know.
Yeah, I think maybe you have to also take a close look at what spells can affect it. Like, does a hold person work?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure you're just a gaseous cloud.
Well, you're still a person. I don't know.
Appearing as wisps of cloud while in
whatever
this
you
cloud
appear as,
form?
you're still you. What I don't know.
Are
Maybe.
you? I don't know. I don't know if it's that well established. This is definitely hurt by the fact that 5e tried to not use any gamist language. It tried to just be, this is the thing that happens. It'd be really helpful if we had a way to say, you are no longer a creature type. You are now another creature type, and it's nice and easy. You will become a gaseous cloud form, and these are the specific rules that there would have been books for back in 3rd edition and 3.5 and 4 and all that stuff. But it doesn't. This game edition is a lot simpler, and I think this spell suffers from that and making it like a. Are you up? Like, do you take up the same space?
I
don't think so. I would say no, but what do you think?
What do you mean, more or less?
Like, when you assume the gaseous form, you appear as wisps of cloud. You have flying 50 feet to 300 feet, and you are a gaseous form. Does that mean you are you the same density? Are you the same mass?
Well, you're surely not the same density.
But then that means you can disperse and go under things. How do you control a gaseous form like this? Can you?
Well, yeah, no. I mean,
yourself?
I think the gaseous form is a spell. I mean, you gotta. I think it takes for granted that everything you can do in gaseous form, you can do with this as well. But yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it's given, but yeah.
Are you this massive cloud that could fill a garage though? Because you're not as dense, but you are spread out.
It doesn't tell me. There's probably a lot of different ways to rule this. I'm sure that Jeremy Crawford has talked about. I would hope that Jeremy Crawford on Twitter has talked about this at some point. He's the rules guy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's neat. I think if you're playing at a table that's playing this fairly, it's going to have no problems. It's going to be a neat little tool to explore the extra planes or explore big mountains or flying cities and stuff. And that's what it's great at. I love that spell, the spell for that reason. Outside of that, I think this could be a Munchkin-y kind of brain puzzle to DM's countermeasure. And I think you could try to make this really, really busted of just, I'm ignoring all of the adventure because we are all gas and flying to the objective.
Yeah.
And that seems like a problem sometimes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think we're gonna solve this conundrum tonight.
Neither do I.
You got a Sam score?
I'm gonna tentatively give this a 4 out of 5. This might be a 5. This might be a 3. I honestly don't know, and I don't know if I'm ever gonna figure it out.
All right, I'm gonna start giving my scores first because I feel like I'm just agreeing with you nowadays. But yeah, also 4 out of 5. I don't know. I'm gonna have a couple more beers, and I'm sure I'll have a fight with you before we're done recording.
Great, can't wait for that.
All right, that was Windwalk, everyone. Thank you, Sam, and thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching. If you found this helpful, informative, or entertaining, I'd really appreciate it if you hit the like button below. You needn't smash it, a gentle tap will suffice. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. And make sure you check out the links in the description, where you'll find my Caverns and Creatures series of comedy fantasy novels, Sam's full review of the spell, and other fun things.